For me, like art really helps me to be engaged with myself and also to understand my relationship with other people and with myself. And that really helped me to have a better understanding how this life is. And that really matters to me. I'm just really curious. I say, you're not an artist, you're an artist, you're an artist. But then, like, why? What's your experience and your memorable, like your story, and to share with us?
San Carlos Rodriguez. I'm a creative art therapist by training, and I currently work at Kings County Hospital, one of the city hospitals here in New York. I oversee the small division, the Wellness and Recovery Division. That includes the group therapy department, which is primarily composed of creative art therapists. And I also oversee artist in residence projects within the campus.
Hi, my name is Ren Lu. I'm from China. I was growing up in a kind of art family. My father, he's an art historian and a writer. That's how after graduation, I sort of naturally stepped into the art field. So I was running gallery back in China from 2011 to 2017. After that, I came to New York, studied a little bit, and right now I'm more like an art advisor. Sometimes I also do a little bit writing as well. I love like gallery business. I always want to go back to gallery business.
I'm Sharon Poliakine. I'm from Israel. I'm an artist, and that's what I love to do. I'm an artist, but also I'm an educator. I teach in a university in Haifa. It's in Israel. And I see education as a very big part of my creative life, as much as doing art. I'm a painter now, but I can say that my decisive moment in art was when I started to work in a print workshop. I'm a master printer in etching. And I think as much as I'm not doing it now every day, it really changed my life in the ways that I'm thinking through printmaking. So my big question was when I came here, what do I do here? What is different? I mean, I have a studio here. What is different doing art in my studio here than in Israel? And I'm starting to figure out. I have some answers, but...
My name is Lulu. I'm an artist. I do mostly installation art, but my work is really basing on my experience and also the ideas and thoughts that I have at the moment. And I turned it to be some kind of art in different medium and material that I can manage to realize that. Then that would just really lead to this conversation that I invite you to have. Is we are all in different I would say sections in art, and then the reason that I want to bring all four of us together to have this conversation is I just jump back into it because I was already, maybe later you can share a little bit about your experience as a collector and why you in terms of why you want to have art in this way in your life. But then that's four of us, we have a different approach, different practice, I would say, in art. And basically, I see this is almost it's almost a choice that we want to have art in our life. And I can talk a little bit about why I come up with this subject. I wasn't doing art growing up. My background was completely not art related, and I studied chemical engineering. And later, I wanted to do art, but then I didn't have the courage, or people tell me it's supposed to just be a habit. So kind of I choose something in between. So I went to drama and theater. because that was design. Somehow I feel like I could still have a job or something, right? But then later I graduated, and then I was working just a job, and then, but I never feel alive, to be honest. That I feel like I didn't have the passion or drive and to go on with my life. I have a job, but then, so later somehow there's a moment I just feel like, I think it was when I was about to turn 27 or something. I feel like if I don't do it, if I don't make the change, I would never never try to do art. I would never have the chance. My life would just be this way, predictable. So I just, I left everything I had in Taiwan. I came here to study art. And now I'm an artist. I do a lot of things I do. Like I also work with other art organization to do administrative work. But basically my life is like revolve around art. But I still remember when I wasn't doing art, I didn't understand what's the benefit to have art in my life. When I went to museum, I was like, oh yeah, that was a school assignment. But then once I started to do art, I felt like it really helps me a lot, because I started to find that it helps me to connect with myself, my emotion, and it become my way of expression.
I really like you said that art is a choice, but also I feel a lot of people, they don't have choice. So I really feel lucky that I have the choice to do art, to pursue art. So I spent 6-7 years in Australia, and I studied media communication, and also I did history. But since my dad, he's in the art, so because he interacted with artists a lot. So when I was a little girl, there's art catalogs in our house, and sometimes those are like artists come by to our house. So I know how sort of like artist is like, and how their like life but in China, like everything, like the contemporary art, like started very late, like in the 90s. That's when Western art dealer, they went into China and set up like galleries and museums. That's where everything started, because before 90s, there wasn't any like market. So artists, they just stay home and doing art. That's very focused and pure. And then, so I grew up like that, observing people who were in the art. And then I was running galleries. So I really enjoy the process of reach out to artists, go to their studio, have this conversation, and get to know them in person, and know how they live their life and how they look at art, and how art plays a role in their life, and why they are choosing this path to be an artist, because it's a really tough job or a tough role. But I enjoy the process. I think it's also a process for me to get to know myself, get to know my relationship with myself and with people around me, and with the life in general, if it sounds very abstract. And also the whole process of running the gallery, get to know more people who are involved in art, like shipping, insurance, people who are involved in art fairs, and collectors, and people who wanted to collect and didn't know how to start. So all kinds of people who, because they have interest in art, they love art, we get together. I think that's the really powerful thing, that art connect people together, and art allowed a very neutral zone where people can talk equally, and where people communicate no matter where they're from, what's their background. yeah, I think that's the powerful thing about art. That's how constantly drive me to explore more things in art. Yeah.
It's interesting because listening to you made me think about, someone that collects art, and how, in a way, I believe that arts play a very important role in our lives. So much that I'm not sure we have a choice. It manifests in so many ways. And so it must play a very important role in our well-being for it to exist in the way it exists. This need for aesthetics manifests in how we build houses, how we decorate them. And so one of the reasons to your question why I collect art, it's also a need, a complex need of who I am. One is because it gives me pleasure. I want pieces in my home with me because I like to look at them, no? But you bring another part, which is where we were talking a few days ago about my excitement when galleries and exhibitions open up after the pandemic. And as a person, one of the things I go to galleries is to meet a gallerist that can talk to me about the work, meet artists that I can connect to the work in a way that also informs how I collect art. Also because as a consumer of art, I also want to support the arts. And the best way to do that, in my case, is by buying art, supporting an artist, going to see performances within that regard. So it feeds my need to be surrounded by beautiful objects that I can, that I can appreciate. But it also feeds my need to how I support a larger community of artists as a collector, and the people I choose to or not to collect in that sense. So in a way, I also believe that art has a very performatic aspect, even if it's painting, in the sense that it's meant to be observed and experienced. And when no artist creates a piece of art to hide it from an audience. And so art is incomplete. So galleries, museums, performances are also part of that experience of we going to see that. Sometimes we bring it at home, we bring it to work, but sometimes we go to places. In that experience of the artist, the artwork in the observer is, I feel, when it's complete. And that's what how I think of art. And I see my part as someone that observes, consumes, and supports arts in that way.
Well, again, you said that you decided to be an artist, and the question of a decision to decide to do something, so I want to think about it like before and after. I mean, before being an artist, or understand that I'm connected to the world of the art world, and after. And for me, maybe everything is about time, and it's about it's like a time tunnel, because when you are your attitude, or when you think about art, or you think yourself as an artist or a collector or a curator, to look backwards and see events that happened to you when you were a child or later on, and start to think about them as a very dominant events in your artistic experience. So even though when I was 7, I didn't know that I'm going to be an artist, or I didn't understand the importance of a certain event, but today I can go back and I can start to build my kind of mythology, kind of story. And I really like this travel in time as being an artist, to look backwards but not only at my history, also, the history of art and people who lived in different centuries who definitely had thoughts that must be similar to my thoughts, and also thinking about the future and about how a piece of art lives in a home of somebody, and what does it gain during being hung on a wall or living with a family, or and I must say that I'm a painter. I'm kind of using traditional mediums like painting or etching. So the question of time is even more important there, because it's not video and it's not music, it's not performance, it's not. But I'm really trying to, through my art, to deal with time and to let the one who's watching my painting or artwork really to feel the time that I was engaged with the artwork, really to feel the movement inside the painting, the still painting, and also to think about history and about a much longer run of time. So that's something that I wanted to say. And the other one, I totally agree with you that I think art cannot really deal with the big, terrible conflicts and problems that we are having around us in the world. But I can think that the art can give or provide a space, a safe space to discuss, a non-violent discussion. I mean, really a stage for all stories. And this is, as an educator, I feel that what I want to do is really to give my student the opportunity to stand and to tell the story with no fear and with a feeling that everybody is listening, and it doesn't solve anything. But it's, I don't know, that's all about humanity and human relationships and understanding. And but another thing that I wanted to say is to relate to therapy, art therapy, that you were saying that you are practice. And it's very interesting because it's like, for me, it's like two parallel ways. I mean, to be an artist or to be an art therapist, because both are dealing with the self, and but in a very different way, I think. And in the school that I'm teaching, the university, so we work with the art therapy as well, and always there is this discussion. I mean, where and if they meet, Mm-hmm. So it's just a thought.
Well, I believe that the arts all by itself are organizing and healing. And you don't need to be an art therapist to do that. The art is going to do what art does. Some of us have studied what are the more appropriate interventions given a presentation of someone. But that's a constant conversation, those intersections where art does amazing things. And I think this is why we wanted to be part, and it has been with us for so long.
And you mentioned about the art occupy a certain space. So I think it's really important the art, how art actually link us, like connect us with a physical space. I think that's what everyone were missing when the pandemic hit. So everyone has to stay home, browsing art online. But there's certain thing that cannot be replaced by internet. So when the situation is getting better, when the fair started to have the actual physical fair, and the gallery opened up, the museum opened up, I was really happy to going and to experience the art in person and have this dialogue in person in front of the art. Mm-hmm. I think that's a really precious experience that art can bring.
Yeah, but maybe relating to what you're saying is, I want to talk about the physical experience of the artist. Mm-hmm. And that's something which I really, it's like connects everything. Because in the end, I really love this movement. I love to move my hands, to go around, to feel the physical engagement in the creation and again, my physical move again entangled into this time, history of time, and all this. So for me, the artistic, my body involvement is so important, and I really hope that when I don't know, when collectors or galleries work, they can feel this physical engagement of the artist.
Like you are saying, like the movement in the studio, it totally reminded me like during the pandemic that whole year, like because it was at home, and then there was like basically all my like showing opportunity residency that was like either canceled or postponed, but then I was still trying to do something, so I made an online like interactive like map project, also as a way of like the whole idea is that I wanted to do something, and also I wanted to use that thing to like kind of like counteract like the negativity of a pandemic. And then I did make the project, but somehow it's a media work, it's online, so in the screen, there's basically no physical touch. The physical touch is like between my finger with the mouse and also with that screen. So then, yeah, like that limit, it's not like I didn't like that work, but then it doesn't bring like, when I'm making installation, say like I was making the new work and I made that new installation, that movement of like using my hand to actually build something, and then not only this like building something with my hand, but also like you're saying like you as a viewer, then you as a participant observer, you complete that circle, right? Observer, and you look at art, but then I do installation art, and I feel like my artwork is not only just the work itself, but also like what's the relationship between the space and my work and the viewer. Mm-hmm. And then I also like, I have a question for you, but because sometimes I have a viewer in my mind. Like say when I'm building this work and this scale, and then I think about the space and how much space I leave for viewer to move around, and how I want them to move around my work. So sometimes I have viewers in my mind, but I'm not sure if that would really influence my way of making, but I don't really mind. But then when you are talking about like for you it's a time tunnel, and then you see, you realize like back, like sometimes like something influence you, and then after a while. And somehow I see this as a sound kind of like you also as a person looking from outside of your experience to look at your work. I'm not sure this is like how. So my question is, I wonder when you are making work, do you have a viewer in your mind, and when you are making or during the process?
I think it's a good question, because all questions are good, of course. Maybe I'll answer this question while relating to my position now in this residency. And it's a good question because you're talking about the body, the space, geography, history, politics, all these things that really literature that really influence the artwork. But again, we are moving from place to place. Right now, I'm here in New York, and I'm not in my homeland, and I'm here. And it was so. For example, what I did when I came here, I got this little tiny studio, and I tried to do my new work through my body, and it was a very small. It is a very small studio, and I understood that in a way, all the artwork now is surrounding me, so I can change my point of view about how I'm doing this artwork. So it's not one by one, it's all together. I'm working on them all together. So it's not what I wasn't thinking about it before, but all the situation brought me to certain points that I had to start thinking about something new. So I did it through my physical stand in this studio. It's that silly. I mean, I can go and see grapes and start from this just seeing grapes in the shop and it can start my work. So it's a very, I don't know if I answered your question, but it's not that I have this, I'm going to work about immigration. Okay, now I'm going to, no, not at all. It can start from silly, tiny, little memories, views, yeah, and then it will develop.
So that's a one actually for you, because I also know like you have another role. You are running the site, as you mentioned, like you are running this program in the hospital, because that brought to like my second, like I am also curious, how do you like, can you share a little bit about like your, like you work with the patient, the staff, and then how do you see like this art, this practice that you have, that influence, like bring some kind of influence to people like who are not artists, who are not really in art, but then how they engage, and your experience about that part.
It's the same idea with regard to how the role that art plays in our lives and how we can engage it, in our case, for the purpose of therapy, to help someone to get better.
I think art let me push the borders of my own and of other people. Always try to get beyond the borders that I'm used to, kind of invent something new. And that's why also our discussion, I think, is just the beginning, because it is trans-border. I mean, it is. You cannot just say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that's it. So that's why I love art.